Welcome, everybody. Thank you for joining us and happy Earth Day. We hope you're enjoying some time outside today and engaging in activities that care for the Earth and for all the things that depend on it. We thank you for taking a little bit of that time today to spend with us. As always, we want to give a big thanks to the Missouri Department of Conservation for their partnership on this series and for everything they do to connect people with nature and to protect Missouri's fish, forests, and wildlife. Just a quick reminder before we get started, please put your questions into the Q&A or into the comments on the Facebook Live feed, and we'll try to get to as many of those as we can. I will be posting in the chat the common and Latin names of each plant we talk about, as well as some other links that you might be interested in. So without further ado, let's celebrate. We're going to start off with some recommendations for some inspirational reading for you. We've also got a chance to win some native plants and some other prizes at the end of the broadcast today. So please stick with us for that. And we're joining Sydney Ross and Alex Daniel at the Anita B. Gorman Discovery Center. Sydney and Alex, happy Earth Day.
Happy Earth Day! Yay! We hope you're all doing super well today. It's a gorgeous day here in Kansas City. I'm Sydney.
I'm Alex.
And we are the Native Landscape Specialists here at the Anita B. Gorman Conservation Discovery Center here in Kansas City. We are just east of the plaza off of 47th and Troost. So we're going to talk about a lot of things today because it is Earth Day, but every day is Earth Day, am I right? It's just always good to be a human here on planet Earth.
We love you. We love
sure
it.
do.
Every day we appreciate it.
Yeah, but before we begin talking about plants, we do want to mention this really great book called Bringing Nature Home. And this is a book I read probably a couple years ago, and it was a big inspiration to me and the importance of incorporating native plants into your backyard. Because as everyone probably feels, there's a lot of pressure with climate change and just the different things that we're facing environmentally. And Bringing Nature Home is a great book that inspires hope and action. It makes you feel like there's something you can actually do rather than feel hopeless. And one of the best things you can do to fight climate change is plant native plants in your own backyard. So Sarah went ahead and linked that in the chat there. So definitely check that out.
Yeah, and so we wanted to also promote Doug Talamy's the author of that book, and he started a great project called Homegrown National Parks. Mm-hmm. And the website is what do you remember the website?
Well, I think Sarah's going to plug the website. Yeah.
So you can register your own backyard as a homegrown national park, as a place, as a haven for pollinators, and then all the other native flora and fauna that you attract to your yard by planting native plants. Yeah. So it's a great way to like feel great about your contribution to climate change.
Yeah.
You know, stalling.
Yeah, exactly.
Or at least like it's something you can do in your own backyard that's so easy and brings immediate results, and you're instantly doing better for the planet as soon as you get rid of your turf lawn, as soon as you stop planting non-native plants that need a bunch of mowing and pruning and fertilizing and chemicals.
And invasive plants even.
Plants
don't plant them. They're bad for the environment.
As many native plants and native plant gardens you can incorporate into your yard, you're helping the environment by leaps and bounds more than your neighbor with like just a sterile green
meatball bushes.
Yeah, meatball bushes and a flat nothing.
It's a desert.
It's a desert.
So one thing I do want to mention before we jump into plants, because there's some really gorgeous spring bloomers that we're going to show you all today. I was listening to this podcast that Jane Goodall, if y'all remember Jane, she's a huge conservationist.
Gorillas.
You remember the gorillas? Yeah, chimps. She supports primates, but she supports a lot of things. Anyway, she's got this great podcast, and I was listening to it the other day, and something that she said really stuck with me. And it's that kind of hopelessness we feel when we think about the different crises that we see going on our planet, especially environmentalism. And she said, you can't save the world entirely. But what you can do is you can make a difference in your own home and in your own community and neighborhood. So I challenge all of you on Earth Day and every day to try to make those little differences, because like the Homegrown National Park effort, if we all have these little oasis and little spots, we can help save the planet collectively. So
yeah, just a little piece you can do to help in the big picture.
Yeah.
It's something very attainable.
it is.
And we're going to tell you how you can do that today.
Yeah. So, all right. So Alex is going to start us off here. We're going to talk about Jacob's Ladder. So I'm going to flip this camera around and we're going to begin. And feel free, if you have any questions about the plants we're talking about or plants in general, please feel free to pop them into the Q&A or the chat, and we will get to them as we transition to different plants.
So here is the first species I want to talk about today. This is Jacob's Ladder. And this is a showcase species that we have here in one of our rain gardens at the Discovery Center. And it does really, really well in like highly manicured beds, as we found out. So this bed is a rock mulched rain garden that where the Jacob's Ladder is surrounded by rock mulch, and it's behaving very, very well. This is a plant that can't handle very much traffic or any traffic at all, because the stems are a bit weak. Yeah, but it's gorgeous. It's a gorgeous bloomer, early spring bloomer. And if you've got that special little spot where you've got a little area that's part shade, it really loves part shade. And it likes to be in a container. I'd like to try this one in a container.
That'd be cool.
Yeah.
So let's can you define part shade for viewers? Because that gets a little confusing. I hear part sun, part shade. What does that mean exactly?
So part sun means that the area gets the full afternoon sun. Afternoon, is it 6 hours?
It's about I think it's 4 to 6 hours
Yeah,
of intense afternoon sun. Yeah.
And part shade means that it gets 4 to 6 hours of early morning sun. So this is a plant that you're going to find generally on the edge and in woodlands. So it's a shade.
It's a part shade plant.
Yeah, part shade.
So
it can't handle the full blasting hot sun.
No. I also really like the foliage on this plant too.
It's beautiful.
I'm trying to hold this up so y'all can see it.
It really looks like a house plant.
It does. Yeah, look at those leaves. They're so delicate looking.
Yeah, it is a very delicate plant though. Don't plant it around children or animals.
Or dogs, yeah.
So another one that I'd like to show that's a bit more hardy, to be honest. This is wild geranium. And just look, can you see that? Just look, I'm gonna hold that still. Just look at that gorgeous. I mean, isn't that's really beautiful. One of the best shades of purple you've ever seen. It
really is.
And background of the green.
I like that leaf shape too.
Yeah, the leaf shape is so beautiful. They're fuzzy. They've got even color on the stems here. But this plant is awesome for your part shade areas, and it can handle a little bit more moisture. It's more variable on moisture. It can handle a little bit more moisture and more of a dry part shade area. It can handle part sun to full shade.
Cool. So before we move on to our next plant, Sarah, do we have any questions about either of these two plants or kind of anything related to what we're talking about here?
Let me check that out. Doesn't look like we have anything yet. So everybody's
awesome.
Enjoying.
Great, perfect.
The last thing I wanted to say about geranium is that it will continue to bloom. You can see that these blooms are out, but there are still blooms to come.
Oh, that's awesome.
So it'll continue to bloom for like a month and a half. And then you can cut it back so that the foliage refreshes. It's not going to rebloom, but it will refresh and look good for the rest of the year if you cut it back.
And I know we talked about Wild Sweet William last time, but this is also a great companion. Look at that. Those together. Don't they look nice?
I feel like this bed right now is definitely the purple bed though.
It is purple. Let me kind of show you. Yeah, look at this. You see my pink water bottle here. Yeah, so these are all perennials that we're talking about, I believe. Yeah. And I saw that kind of pop up in a question. I also saw someone ask if geraniums come in different colors. Is that?
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. Geraniums are one of the most cultivated hybridized plants on the planet. This just happens to be one of the plants in the family of geranium. There are tons of geraniums. things. You
Awesome.
can find them all the time in nurseries, but
Yeah.
this is the native. This is maculatum.
Yeah. And I know we talk about this all the time, but the reason we really encourage native plants is because they have these ties with insects, with other types of wildlife, and they have the right amount of nutrition that they're seeking. Whereas cultivars or hybrids or plants that have been genetically modified may not have the same kind of nutritional value or other qualities that this wildlife depends on. So
that's right. And if you just think about like what we've seen today, isn't it a coincidence that all of these flowers are the same, like in the same shade?
Yeah.
Isn't that weird?
It is. Well, and they all bloom at the same time, so that they there's something going on there that benefits wildlife. Look at all that. Yeah.
Bees can recognize these flowers because they've evolved with them for
millions of years.
That's right.
All right, what do we have here? Look at these little cuties.
Cutie.
Oh my gosh.
Certified cutie.
Certified cutie.
Yes, this is dwarf crested iris. Look at those landing strips. That's what I call these little landing strips right here.
I love
That's how the pollinators know where to go. That's
beautiful.
Yep, they go right in there and they get all pollinated and
they're
have a
looking
nice time.
for that nectar and they get pollinated in the process.
So this flower, this flower lasted. Oh, I can't believe we haven't talked about this yet. So it snowed here.
Oh yeah,
yesterday.
hi, hello, April shower, snow showers.
So these plants, I took pictures of them while they were covered in snow and freezing rain and all of that, and they've done fine. Like I thought these as tissue paper flowers would not look good, and just a few of them faded, but really they really stayed.
They held up pretty well.
Yeah, so native plants can handle, we've seen it firsthand that they can handle these extremes that we have in the Midwest. Yeah. So that's a great one too. That's a good kind of ground cover iris species, and it can do part shade to full sun, and it's a lower growing iris.
I was gonna say, this is like what, 6 inches, 6 to 8 inches.
6 to 8.
They don't get taller. They stay this size.
They work as like a ground cover species.
Ooh, it'd be really great as a border plant too.
Yes,
I like that.
Exactly.
That's very cool. Awesome.
Yeah. So
Sarah, do we have any other questions as we walk to our next destination?
We do. We have quite a few questions, actually. So Adrian asks, and maybe it'd be easy to just kind of quickly cover this for everything we've done so far, is if you could mention with each of the plants if they're easy for native plant newbies or gardening newbies to plant or maintain.
Yeah, I would say that these are all fairly accessible to grow. What do you think? Some of them?
You're making a face.
Let's see here.
I'm sorry.
No, you're good.
Here's the face I'm making. Irises are tricky.
Well, and why is that?
I don't know.
They just it's all about.
I've had a hard time growing them. You can see if you switch the camera right here, you'll see our dedicated iris bed. And
I think it's about right plant, right place,
Yeah, it is about.
So I think personally they can be suitable for gardeners of all skill levels. Well, I think it's about knowing the research.
The other research and knowing where to put it. I would say don't jump into irises right away. Copper iris is one that could grow fairly easily, but maybe wait until that second year to try other irises. That's just my personal experience. Everything else we've talked about has been beginner level.
Yeah. I think my philosophy on it differs a little bit. And I would say that, just don't push that. I would say that native plants, you have to learn from experience, right? So if you want irises, go for it. But know that there are plants that are a little more difficult to get going than others. Also understand that native plants have certain parameters like light requirements, soil requirements, moisture, all of that. And you'll learn with experience what works and what doesn't. So don't give up. Also know you can push the boundaries a little bit. But yeah, I'd say try. But the plants we talked about, I'd say you could definitely incorporate into your garden. So
Yeah.
okay, now we're going to talk about kind of a special plant. This one is not an easy one to grow. I will say that.
We're gonna end on an easy one, I
We
promise.
will, but we of course we have to showcase a plant that's just really interesting, right?
Yeah.
So this is Hoary Pacoon, and it is a prairie species. It's so small, and the name Hoary means it's related to the word hoarfrost, and it is. You can see the leaves are kind of grayish and fuzzy. They're not that gray right now.
You can't really see it from the video, but the stems are very fuzzy with white hairs.
Oh my gosh, they're so fuzzy.
So like hoarfrost.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then Pacoon is a Native American word for dyes. And so this plant was used by Native Americans as a dye. It's just a very, very sweet prairie species. So you can find them in remnant prairies that are pretty pristine and have not been used agriculturally. I saw some of these when I was up at Paintbrush Prairie in Sedalia. They're beautiful.
Your scrunchie matches the
Oh, it does. Yeah,
that's cute.
Anyway, so we just wanted to spotlight this plant. We have 3 currently here at the Discovery Center, but I'm very excited to say I was able to source 15 more of these plants to incorporate into our upcoming bed renovation called Primrose Prairie. It is a prairie flower bed that we'll be installing this May and June, and it will feature over 500 flowering prairie species and grasses. So it's gonna be really exciting. And yeah, so this is one of the showcase specimen species I really wanted to incorporate into that design, and it was very difficult to find. So I won't spend too much more time on this. I just wanted to show you all because it's just kind of a cool plant.
I really love it. I love it. It's a unique color. It's like it's more of an orangey yellow than we see. Like we were talking about how a lot of stuff is in the blue hue right now. And later in the summer, everything's going to be purple. Like there are times of year where colors are important. And of course, Hoary Pacoon is in that yellowy orangey range. Then we have Golden Alexander that's coming up too. That's blooming as well. Yeah.
Anyway, so that was just one of the special showcase species we wanted to share with you. And then we are going to talk about one more plant that is very accessible, and we highly encourage y'all plant in your gardens this year, especially if you have full sun or part sun. I think they can thrive.
They can do they can
sun.
do part sun for sure if it's well drained enough.
Yeah. So the plant we're going to be talking about is Rose Verbena. It is a ground cover species, which means it doesn't get very tall, and it's very fragrant. We'll keep walking actually because we want to show you a special spot. But while we're walking, Sarah, do we have any more questions before we get to our destination?
How slowly can you walk? We have lots of questions.
I can walk very slow.
All right. Shelly wonders if you can winter the Jacob's ladder inside.
Oh, no. I'm going to say no.
I wouldn't, because
native plants, they don't
need to
winter inside. Yeah, they don't overwinter inside very well. They need to go through frost cycles.
They do. So leave your Jacob's ladder outside. If it's in a pot, that's what I'm wondering. In that context, I mean, I would still say probably leave it outside.
Leave it outside, but just maybe water it more.
Yeah.
Water it a few more times.
If it's in a pot,
Yeah.
Great question.
Great question.
What are the water requirements on the dwarf crested iris?
It can do full. It can be like medium. Medium is its favorite. Yeah.
So
medium to average.
Not super wet, like you don't want puddles of water.
Yeah.
But also not so dry that your soil's cracking on.
Yeah. I'll say it's at the top edge of our rain garden, so it's like it's not down in the bottom that is maintained wet. It's a It's a classic medium wetness soil situation,
which is, I feel like, kind of a hard thing to like describe.
It's really hard. I know.
What does medium even mean?
So like what I mean, maybe the example I want to give is like I'm thinking about like an urban setting, like okay, under a big tree that is not totally dried out all the time.
Yeah.
That like maintains a moisture that's not at like prairie level, I guess. Like, so it's got part shade,
Right.
but it's not getting baked in hot afternoon south sun.
Yeah.
So maybe like a big shade tree that's on any other side of your house except for the south side.
Yeah, good call.
Yeah.
Great question. What else
Great
we
question.
Val would like to know, where did you source the Hoary Pacoon?
The
Well,
Hoary
Hoary
Pacoon.
Pacoon.
We got it from Missouri Wildflower Nursery.
We did, and they don't have any more. I'm so sorry.
No, Sydney bought all of it. Sorry,
I
guys.
did. I apologize.
We bought it. We bought the 3 that we have here now. Like what I say, 2 years ago, I think.
Yeah.
From Missouri Wildflower Nursery, and Sydney bought all the rest of it this year.
Sorry, but
Sorry.
you can visit them and say hi to them,
And then get on the order form. Yeah, that's where Primrose Prairie is going to be. So this is,
you see, and the black plastic, that's going to be covered with over 500 prairie species. So it's gonna be really exciting.
I'm so excited about this bed.
We actually
Y'all are seeing the beginning.
Yeah, we just got half of the plants the other day. So we have over 240 plants sitting in one of the classrooms right now. It's very exciting. So
only half.
All right. So we're going to go to our last plant.
Yeah. One of the favorites. I mean, this is like top 4 favorite must-have plants for your native garden.
Okay. So this is Rose Verbena.
And it does require a special position on the ground because you have to get low.
The position of sniffing these flowers because they smell beautiful. Oh my gosh, you guys, it smells so good. Very floral, sweet smelling. Look at these blooms. Okay, so I didn't know anything about Rose Verbena until I started working here last year. And this is probably my favorite ground cover currently. It can handle the hot sun. It does prefer full sun. It could probably do part sun, which is at least 4 to 6 hours of direct afternoon sun. It loves to be up against sidewalks and rocks. It likes that heat that radiates off of them.
It can handle the heat that
crazy.
A lot of like creeping ground cover species would normally fry in.
Right. Yeah. So it's easy to maintain. It is pretty prolific, so it spreads well. So just make sure if you have any like more delicate species nearby, maybe just create a buffer around them. But otherwise, this is such a great plant to add into your bed to fill around the taller species. So anything that's, not a ground cover, because this is as tall as this gets, so it makes a nice kind of carpet. And if you've tuned into some of our previous Native Plants at Noon episodes, we've talked about landscape design a little bit, and you would start with your big structural plants, like your shrubs, small trees, and then move to seasonal plants that are like kind of a middle height. And then this would be the last thing you'd add, the ground cover. And this is a great option because it helps retain the moisture in your soil. It helps prevent erosion. And gosh, look at these blooms. They don't quit.
They don't quit.
In fact, last year, we still saw like 1 or 2 blooms in December.
Yes. And
crazy.
it started, do you remember this year? It started in March.
Amazing.
It bloomed in March and it went through December.
It's
so
just
crazy.
It's really a powerhouse of a plant. So if you don't have Rose Verbena, be sure to add it to your garden. It smells great. You can use it for cut flowers. It attracts a lot of pollinators. So definitely check out Rose Verbena. You can find this at any of your native plant nurseries.
Yes, but do watch out. This is another one that's cultivar and hybridized.
Good to know. Yeah. So, and what are the things we look for again, Alex, when we're trying to avoid cultivars?
You want to look for a genus name and a specific epithet. So like just 2 words in Latin, italicized. If there's an X or some kind of thing in quotations, or it's like the lunar sunset. Mine's always sunset. That's my reference.
Tropical blast.
Pina colada. Rose Verbena.
I don't know.
It's not good.
Kind of
that's not good.
Name that's in quotes.
Yes.
It's not a nature.
This is Glandularia canadensis. That's right.
Latin's hard, y'all.
Latin's hard, but you got to know it.
It's important, especially if you're wanting to get true natives into your garden. It's just look for the Latin, check it out on your phone when you're at the nursery, or just check the tag.
A lot of our local nurseries have a specific native plant sections.
Yeah.
And should be
Oh,
pretty obvious.
I wish you all could smell this right now.
it smells so good.
Oh, it smells so good.
So
Yeah.
should we do questions?
Yeah.
Yeah, let's do some questions. Let's see. Uh-oh, did we lose Sydney and Alex?
We're
We're
here.
back.
Are you there? Okay, good. Good. I
here.
thought we lost you for a minute. I'm so excited that we ended on one of my favorite plants too. I love Rose Verbena. So yeah, lots of questions. If you can take a moment to look into the Q&A and see if your question is already there. And if you click that little thumbs up button next to it, that'll help us know which are the most popular questions. So lots of questions about Rose Verbena in terms of mulching, water requirement, and whether you can grow it from seed. So let's tackle
Great
all three of those if we
question.
can.
Let's start. Do you
Let's start by saying we've never grown it from seed.
I was gonna say I was gonna ask you. I've never grown it from seed.
It's very widely available. And I say, I mean, I'm the kind of gardener that I'm like, if you don't have to grow from seed, don't do it. Like,
Yeah.
what's the point? It's gonna be so much more hassle than spending $3 extra.
It's a different kind of
an actual
resource.
plant.
It's a different kind of resource. You know, if you don't have time on your hands to really baby these until they get bigger, it's better to just
Let the professionals do it.
grow a mature plant, or let them
Yes.
grow a mature plant and then you plant it.
Yeah.
Um,
You're gonna have way more success that way and way less heartache.
yeah, at least especially this time of year. You know what I mean? Like I love growing things from seed in the winter time. It's great. You don't have a lot going on outside.
Which we did a lot of,
Yeah.
and we're doing a
And
plant
we
giveaway on
encourage a lot of
Saturday.
that. So but yeah, for Rose Verbena, I'd recommend plugs. In terms of water requirement, they do tolerate dry soil, but if you're just now planting any plants, you want to make sure you keep them well watered for the first 2 weeks. So plant it, immediately water it,
Yeah.
keep them watered unless it rains, you know, and the soil's wet.
Yeah. I'll say with Rose Verbena, our experience has been that it needs to be fully well drained, because we've tried to plant it in a few clay situations and the roots just rot and they die.
They get
So
too wet.
you need to plant it. If you have a lot of clay in your soil, I would recommend adding either some like sand or gravel or
Mhm.
something that's gonna like be a buffer between that clay layer and the potting soil layer that you have on top of it, for sure.
And then for mulching, I mean, I think ground covers serve as a type of green mulch.
Yeah, I would not mulch this species at all, because the point of it is that it's gonna send out runners, which are gonna put down roots and create more. Now, some ground cover species are not like that. Some ground cover species just send out stems with no rooting nodules on the end, but Rose Verbena wants to touch ground. It wants to touch dirt,
and it'll
and
cover
it wants
it.
to send roots
Yeah.
down. So I do not recommend mulching beyond like the very first year. Give it a bunch of room.
Yeah,
It'll
if
spread.
it's
wherever
yeah,
you want it to spread,
it will go.
do it there. If
Yeah.
you don't want it to spread, sure, go right ahead and mulch.
Well, and also like if you're asking about mulching for like an aesthetic reason, then you could do some light mulching and then
in the first year.
the first year, just the first year, and then let that mulch dissipate or disappear and let the Rose Verbena do its job and cover up that ground.
just don't mulch where you want the Rose Verbena to spread.
Yeah.
It's that easy.
It's Great questions.
Great question.
All right, let's do one last one and then we will wrap up. Ashley would like to know if any of the plants that you've talked about today are juglone tolerant to be planted underneath walnuts.
Oh my gosh, you found our weak spot. We specifically do not garden underneath our walnut
We just
trees.
leave our walnut trees.
We just let them be turf grass, which is such a
Which is ironic
feels
that
like
we're
a
just talking about
huge,
killing turf
huge-
grass. But
Yeah, it's a huge weak spot. I'll go to as my reference for this every single time is the MoBot website, the Missouri Botanical website, because they will tell you, and Missouri Wildflower Nursery info pages do a good job too of saying whether they're walnut resistant. So I would just Google
walnut it's so hard, you know, and I'm trying to, I was just reading about a plant the other day and I can't remember for the life of me, but there was some plant, I wish I remembered it for this exact moment. But there are plants out there that are native to Missouri and Kansas that are tolerant of walnut
We
trees.
should have like a special program that's just, hey, are you trying to garden under a black walnut?
Right.
A
Maybe
black-
we'll do
a
some
black walnut
experimentation.
support group.
Yeah, for real. Thank you so much. We're so sorry we couldn't answer your question thoroughly.
I really want to learn more about that.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, we'll have to check out mobot.org if you want to know more
Mobot,
about
they're
that.
the best.
So
They're great.
yeah, so I'll go ahead and put in the chat because we had several questions about where to buy native plants. Of course, you can find on deeproots.org. If you click on find plants at the upper left side, it can kind of direct you to all sorts of different sources. So online native plant sales, in-person native plant sales, native nurseries, mail order, seeds, all that sort of stuff you can find there. So be sure to check that out. So Alex and Sydney, thank you guys so much. This has been a fun and wonderful way to start off a beautiful afternoon. We really appreciate it.
Happy Earth Day!
Happy Earth Day!
Yeah.
And we hope
Happy
you
Earth
all will
Day to you.
join us on Saturday for our native plant giveaway. Sarah, will you tell a little bit more about that for us?
Sure. I'm going to put the link here in the chat to that. If I can find the chat again, where did it go? Hi, here we go. Here is the link for all of the upcoming events at the Anita B. Gorman Conservation Discovery Center. So you'll be able to find the information about Saturday's Go Native native plant and tree, right? Giveaway. Giving away, I think both. So native plants and trees.
Sorry,
we're giving away
no worries.
Trees and 4 packs of
one tree and some native plants to go.
So before you come up to the event, actually make sure you know if you want sun or shade plants, because we will ask you, do you want sun or shade? And then we will give you plants that we have grown from seed ourselves with a lot of love. But that's how the drive-through plant giveaway will work.
Perfect. Good to know. So we hope to see a lot of you there. The other thing you can find at that website is upcoming landscape chats where you can tour the landscape with Alex and Sydney and learn even more about the plants at the Discovery Center and the critters that call it home. If you've been enjoying Native Plants at Noon, you might be interested in attending the upcoming Planet Native Landscape Conference hosted by Deep Roots and our partners. That's on September 22nd through 24th. So save the date and visit planetnative.org for more information. And finally, it wouldn't be a party without some gifts. We have native plant prize packs from Alex and Sydney to give away. We've got some of our Deep Roots note cards. We've got books and more to give away. So the way that it's going to work is after we end the video here, you should have a pop-up on your screen that will ask you to take a survey. After you finish that survey, at the bottom, there's a place to leave your name and your email if you'd like to be entered. You can also stay anonymous as well. For those of you joining us on Facebook, that link will be in the comments over there. And I'll go ahead and put it on our chat here as well, just so we make sure we get it both places. And we will contact you to arrange delivery of your prize if you should happen to win. So please tell us what you thought, and we hope you have a wonderful rest of the day. Please get outside as much as you can, and we will see you on Thursday, May 20th for our next episode. I'm going to leave the broadcast running here for just a minute so that you can grab the links as needed, and we hope to see you next time. Thank you.